You ever look at a stock report and feel like you're just staring at a secret code? Well, today, we're going to crack it. We are putting on our detective hats to solve the case of a technical analysis report for Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, ticker NCLH. I mean, these reports can be so overwhelming, right? They're just packed with all these numbers and indicators that look like they're straight out of a spy movie. It's tough to even know where to begin. So instead of getting bogged down in the data, we're going to treat this like a real investigation. Our mission is to find the clues, piece them all together, and really uncover the story this data is trying to tell us about NCLH. All right, here it is, our case file, the technical signals for NCLH. Our goal here is to get what's been happening with this stock lately and what that might mean for where it's headed. And, every good detective knows you need a solid starting point. For us, that starting point is the big picture, the prevailing trend. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, we need to know, is this stock swimming with the current or fighting against it? That's our first and maybe most important piece of evidence. Okay, here's our first major clue. The current price for NCLH is sitting at $23.04. Now, let's see how that stacks up against its moving averages, the 20-day, the 50-day, and that really important 200-day average. These basically tell us the stock's typical behavior over different chunks of time. And would you look at that, the evidence is pretty clear. The current price is way above its recent short-term averages. That tells us it's had a fantastic couple of weeks. But what's even more important is that it's also punched through that long-term 200-day average. A lot of traders see that as a classic sign of a shift into a positive long-term trend. So, in our detective's notebook, clue number 1 is pointing straight up. It's bullish. So we know the direction. Now let's look at our next clue, momentum. It's not enough to know which way the wind is blowing. We need to figure out if we're dealing with a light breeze or a full-on gale force wind. And our first piece of momentum evidence is the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. It's coming in at 75.30. Now this is a go-to tool for a ton of traders, but what does that number actually mean for our case? Okay, so the RSI is measured on a scale from 0 to 100. Anything over 70, like we see here, is usually considered overbought. Now, that sounds kind of negative, but it doesn't have to be. It just means the stock moved up very, very quickly. Think of it like a sprinter who just set a new world record. They're incredibly strong, but they might need to catch their breath for a minute. And it's not just the RSI flashing this signal. All our other momentum clues are telling a similar story. The MACD is positive, that's bullish. The stochastic oscillator is way up there at 86, showing strong buying pressure. And the Williams %R is also deep in that overbought territory. So the verdict from the forensics lab is clear. The momentum is incredibly strong, but yeah, it might be running a little hot. Now, for a really critical question in any investigation, is our suspect acting alone? See, a price move by itself is one thing, but a price move that's backed by a big crowd, that's a whole lot more significant. And in the stock market, we measure that crowd with trading volume. And here's a key piece of evidence. The relative volume is 1.62. This little number tells us that the trading volume lately is 1.62 times its normal average. Anything over 1 means things are busier than usual. So get this, recent trading has been 62% higher than average. That tells us there's a ton of interest and conviction behind this stock right now. This isn't some quiet little move happening in the shadows. Oh no, the market is paying close attention, and that adds some serious weight to the trend we uncovered earlier. And to get another read on the market's mood, we can check out the Arun indicator. It's got 2 lines, up and down. Just think of them as 2 runners in a race. Right now, Arun up is at the finish line, a perfect 100. Meanwhile, Arun down is lagging way behind at 28. This is basically screaming that the uptrend is powerful and totally dominant. All right, detectives, we've gathered the clues, we've interviewed the witnesses. Now it's time to put it all together and deliver our final verdict on the case of NCLH. So the report itself gives us this headline number, a technical score of 75 out of 100. That's a pretty strong score. But it's just a number, right? Thanks to our investigation, we now know the real story behind that number. Okay, let's review the case file. The trend, it's bullish. The stock is moving up. The momentum, it's very strong, though maybe a little overextended. And the mood, it's one of high conviction with a whole lot of trading activity backing this move up. The sentiment is definitely upbeat. And there you have it. We've cracked the code. What started out as just a confusing jumble of data now tells a really clear story. This is a stock with a strong upward trend, some powerful momentum, and it absolutely has the market's full attention. So, case closed, right? Well, for now. Our technical investigation has given us a super clear picture of the stock's recent past. But any good detective and any good investor always wants the full story. This is just one side of it, the technical side. The next step would be to dig into the fundamentals. The company's earnings, the health of the entire industry, the economy as a whole. And well, that's the next case to solve.